Hey folks, Free Play Frank. If you've got a goat that's walking in circles or has various other jerky type of symptoms, most likely it's got listeriosis. It can also be goat polio. I'm going to show you how to treat that in this video and save your goat. And then later I got an awesome folk song for you from 1965. You Are On My Mind by We 5. Alright, let's go. Okay, I want to talk to you guys about listeriosis in goats. Now this is my 15-month-old doe, Faith. She was born early last year. It's June of 2024 now. And about 20 days ago or something like that, she came down with this condition where she was walking in circles. Like at first it would just start where she'd stand and she'd be eating grass, then she'd stand up and then she'd turn to the right and walk around in a circle, and then she'd go back to eating grass, and the circle walking got worse and worse, and the other goats were noticing that there was something wrong with her, so some of the goats were coming over and starting to fight with her and headbutt her and stuff, so she tried to run away and hide, and she went underneath something, got stuck under there. And when I went to get her out, she was stuck up against it because all she could do was go to the right. She couldn't go straight and she couldn't go to the left. And then her body was so rigid, it wanted to twist to the right all the time. And eventually it got to the point, and this was like when I first noticed it, it was probably about 5 o'clock in the afternoon. And by the time I figured out what it was, I had to go and look on the internet to figure out what it was and talk to another goat person I know and find out what to do to treat it. It was about 9 o'clock when I gave her the medication for it. And by then she was so stiff that she couldn't really do anything. She couldn't hardly even stand up. She'd just flop right over, and it was pretty horrifying for me to watch. And so I looked up the treatment, and what they say to do is you have to give a real heavy dose of antibiotics for 6 days, every 6 hours. So every 6 hours, that's 4 doses a day for 6 days. And the dosage is 6 milliliters per 100 pound animal weight. So she's about probably 40 pounds, so I gave her about 3 mil of that stuff. And another thing is there's another disease called goat polio, which has very, very similar symptoms. And what that is a deficiency of thiamine. Thiamine's a mineral that is found in their food, or it's found in plants that they eat and so on. And if they get a deficiency in that, then they'll get very similar symptoms to listeriosis, and they'll be walking in circles and stuff. And but the listeriosis is a bacteria, and it occurs naturally in the soil to some degree. It can be spread around by like animals or bird poo, or there's other theories how they get it. Eating moldy hay is one of them. Eating too much grain is another one. You give them too much grain all the time. There's a few others. You guys can look that up. It's not. There's a couple websites that talk pretty much in depth. They got real good information about this. So you can look up all the details on there. But I'm going to give you an overview of how this worked out here. And I went to my vet too. The next day I went and talked to my vet. And I went over all the stuff that was going on with him, and he said, yeah, that's right, that's the right treatment to do. But he also said it don't have a very good success rate. Like sometimes they'll respond in a day or two if you catch it early enough. Other times they'll just pass in a couple days. So anyways, I gave her that treatment. I was getting up at 2 in the morning, or staying up till 2 in the morning to give her one, and then coming down at 7 o'clock in the morning to give her another one. And I went 5 days without hardly any sleep. She was like, I had to make sure that she got all the proper dosages. And it was so much antibiotics. It was like she was like almost not passed out, but she's laying down on her side all the time, and that's not good for goats to lay on their side. So I kept trying to prop her up against the wall and put stuff on the sides of her and so on to hold her up. And I got a pillow here for her. I had that under her head, and she would just kick and push it all away, and I come back in 10 minutes later and she's like laid out again on her side with her legs really rigid and trying to turn her head to the right. And also she wasn't able to eat or drink anymore when she was so rigid she couldn't do anything, so I had to give her liquid with a large syringe, oral syringe, with warm water, and I put electrolyte powder. And for the first night or two, that's all I gave her was warm water with electrolyte powder, about 5 of those syringes full of that, 4 times a day. And that kept her going, give her enough energy. And then my other goat friend said to add milk replacer to that. So I went and got some milk replacer powder and I put that in her drink too. And I started giving her that. And that seemed to help because that's got protein in it. So it give her more energy. But anyways, on the 5th day, I went to give her shots. And I noticed that right after I gave her a shot, she was bleeding out of the holes where I put the needles in. So I was like, okay, that's enough. I can't give her any more medication. I'm overloading her with medication. But that's what you have to do. That's the only way to get rid of that because it's a really nasty virus. What it does, it causes a condition called encephalitis. It gets up into their nervous system. And it gets to the base of like the brain stem, I think it is, the part of their brain that regulates the way that they stand and so on. And that's why they're turning to the right. And they also get muscle spasms where they're twitching and they're jerking around and stuff. And also they can make some go blind too. So anyways, I did that right up to there, and then it's okay, I can't give her any more. So then I cut it down to once. You're supposed to do it once a day, after that for another 5 days. But she wasn't doing well when I was doing it the one time, so I stopped doing it completely after that. And by then I had her eating pretty well. Like she still wasn't able to stand up. You could pick her up, and she wouldn't stay. She would just flop back down and turning to the right. But she was taking that syringe full of electrolyte and milk replacer readily, and like she'd drink about 4 of them, and I'd have to almost force her to drink the 5th one, so I cut that back too. And then I also, like every 3rd or 4th one of those feedings of that electrolyte, I would just give water only, so she's hydrated. And so then also, after I stopped with a 6-day treatment, I started taking the hay. I got some nice hay now because my hay suppliers finally got fresh hay cut this year now. So I got some real nice high quality hay, and I started putting that in her mouth. I just put it in her, like stuff it down to the back of her mouth where it gets on her tongue and her back teeth there. And she's starting to chew on it, like she's chewing on it. And I just left it like that, and she'd be chewing on it, and the first time I think she spit it out after a while, but then I did it again and again, and I was paying attention, and I'd come back later, and I noticed, well, it looks like she swallowed it, the hay's not laying on the ground. So I did that for a while every time when I came in to see her, and about 5 days after I stopped giving her the shots, I picked her up one day because I'd been starting to pick her up, and I'd hold her on my knees. She's pretty heavy, but I'd get down on the ground there, and I'd pick her up, and I'd put her chest across my knee, and I'd hold her up as long as I could so her legs would hang down, and I'd put my arm so that it holds her head, so that I'm trying to make her neck go the other way to counter or attack that right turning thing. And I noticed that she was getting less rigid. She's relaxing more. And then on about the 5th day when I did that, she actually stood up. Like I had her on my knee, and I had her with her legs like in a standing position, and I noticed her legs were pushing, her back legs were pushing against the ground, and she was actually wanting to stand up. So her back legs are standing by themselves. So I'm holding her chest up. Now we just got to get her front legs to stand. And it went like that for a day. And then by the next day I come in, and her neck went straight all by itself, and that virus had finally broken, and she was starting to recover. And it went straight, and she was actually eating by herself. I put hay in front of her, and I put water, and she's drinking the water by herself. And then I come in about, I don't know how many hours after that, maybe like 2 hours, 3 hours, and she was standing up by herself. She stood up, she was waiting for me by herself. So if you just keep doing that treatment with the antibiotics, now they say you can use either oxytetracycline, which is LA200, or you can use penicillin. There's a P word in front of the penicillin. I can't remember what that is. But I don't have any penicillin. I have just the LA200, and my vet said, yeah, that's okay, you can use that. So I used that. And the thiamine injections, I gave her that too, along with because of that goat polio has such similar symptoms that they recommend that you give them thiamine as well, because you don't really know, like the only way to really tell the difference between those two illnesses is send samples in to get tested of their blood or their poop. I think it's your blood they have to send in to test for that. But by the time they do your samples and get you your results back, your animal's going to be dead, so you got to jump on it right away. And the earlier you notice problems with it, and the earlier you start a treatment, the better chance you have that your goat's going to survive. Because I think I left mine a little bit too long, because I never had this before. I've heard of that, and I've never had this happen to any of my animals where they were walking in a circle. So I was in the house on the internet for probably 2 hours reading about what it is and so on. And then another thing that I was also doing is I got probiotic paste, because when you give antibiotics to animals, it kills off the flora in their rumen so that they can't digest their food properly. And she was having quite a bit of diarrhea. She had really floppy diarrhea. And it stinks too. It was like pretty nasty diarrhea the first few days that she was laying there. And we had to keep cleaning her backside off and, put fresh hay every couple hours so she's not laying in a wet spot. But at least she was going to the bathroom though. That's the most important. It doesn't matter if it's diarrhea or whatever, as long as she's relieving herself and the stuff is passing through her. That's the most important thing. But then about the third or fourth day, the diarrhea went away and her poop went back to marbles like it's supposed to be. And then it kind of cycled between marbles and diarrhea and marbles and diarrhea until she started getting up and walking. And now that she's been up and walking, I think it's about 2 days now since she's been up and walking. You can see she's chewing cud now. And we had her outside today, and she walked all around. We had her walking around in the field all day today for about 3 hours, and she's really tired now. She had a long day, so she's laying down. But I think, I'm pretty happy with the progress that she's made. It's really stressful having to deal with an animal that's sick and you don't know whether they're going to make it or not. I've had lots of these where I treated them for days and weeks and they pass, and it just breaks your heart. And it's just such a good feeling to put all this time and energy into treating an animal and it works and they recover. I think that's like the best feeling ever. But anyways, you just, if you do that, it can work, and you can save your animal. You don't have to, it doesn't have to be a death sentence getting listeriosis, but it is a lot of work. You got to do it every 6 hours for 5 days, 6 days, And so you're going to go without sleep. You know, if you got multiple people in your family, then, you know, you get someone else to do the night shot every second night or something. But, you know, I'm here by myself, so I'm, you know, I'm not going to let the animal die because I get a little bit, you know, not enough sleep, you know. I'm going to get off my butt and do what I have to do for them. So anyways, like another thing is when you first notice that they got listeriosis, it'll usually start with one side of their face will start to become looking like it's paralyzed. And you know, it's hard to notice that. You got, like, I had so many goats that, you know, you can't hardly notice every problem with every goat every day, right? When you got so many goats. But you know, if you can pay attention to your goats every day and you notice any kind of difference in their normal activity, then you know every goat's not going to have the problem all at once. It's usually only one goat that gets it. And it seems to be a mystery, like you know, like you go through all your how did she get this, how can I prevent it kind of stuff, like what did I leave laying around that she shouldn't eat, or you know, all this kind of stuff. But it does occur in the soil. I mean, we got chickens too, and sometimes, you know, she gets into the chicken feed. You know, we're feeding the chickens. We got a bag of food sitting there, and you know, she'll come in there when I'm not looking, her head in the chicken food bag, and because having too much grain can cause it. And so you guys, you know, spend a bit more time on the internet reading all the details about, you know, what to do to prevent it and so on. And don't give them moldy hay. Like sometimes you get a bale of hay that's moldy. Usually if it has that white kind of mold that smells like yeast or whatever, that's not bad for them. It doesn't bother them. But if it's got black mold, like take that, rip that right out of there. Don't take that completely out. Don't let them eat any of that. And a big fluffy yucky kind of looks like mushroom kind of mold, don't let them eat that either. You know, it's where I live, it's so damp and it's hard to keep the hay, you know, in good shape, you know, with all the rain we get. So that's one thing. And you know, if you got dogs or whatever, don't let her drink out of the dog's water and stuff. And cats can have germs too. Cats can carry bacteria, so make sure your dogs and cats are vaccinated against everything. Farm vac, I think it's called, or farm shot or something. Get your vet to give your animals that. But anyways, you do that treatment like 4 times a day every 6 hours for 5 days. And if it starts looking like you're giving her too much, cut the dosage back a little bit, you know. And there's another thing that they recommend to give to them. It's called dexamethasone or something like that, or it's a long name, Dexa something, but it's for inflammation. And it can help in some cases because they cause a brain swelling kind of a situation, an encephalitis. But when you give that, what you're supposed to do is you start off with 6 mil of that per 100 pounds of animal weight, and you do it for 6 days. And on the second day, you put 5 mil, then 4 mil on the third day, and taper it right down to 1 mil on the last day. And that way, because that's how you have to give that medication, because you can overload them with that, and you know, that'll cause a lot of problems. But I didn't have to do that because I didn't see that she had any inflammation. You know, the vet also said that, yeah, you don't really need to do that. It's for, you know, certain types of illnesses. But he told me just do the antibiotic and the thiamine, so I did that. But I mean, she gets up on her own now. She can eat now, and we've had her outside walking. Her temperature's normal. So if you get a goat that's walking in circles, and most likely that's what it is listeriosis, or it could be goat polio. Do like what I said and read some more about it on the internet, and I wish you all the best of luck for your goat to make it through. Okay, it's 2 months later. Faith has made a full recovery. Look at all the energy she has, and believe it or not, I didn't even have to worm her after that. So if you guys get a goat that's walking in circles, and most likely it's listeriosis, do what I just did and you can save your goat.
up this morning, you were on my mind, and you were on my mind. And I got trouble, whoa, whoa, I got worry, whoa, whoa, I got wounds to bind. So I went to the corner just to ease my pain, yeah, just to ease my pain. And I got trouble, whoa, whoa, I got worry, whoa, whoa, I came home again. When I woke up this morning, you were on my mind, and you were on my mind. And I got a feeling down in my shoes, said, way down in my shoes. And I got to ramble, whoa, whoa, I got to move on, whoa, whoa, to walk away my blues. When I woke up this morning, you were on my mind, and you were on my mind. And I got trouble, whoa, whoa, I got worry, whoa, whoa, I got wounds to bind. Alright, there you have it. You Were On My Mind by We Fi. A little bit of Bengal-esque folk rock there for you tonight, folks. Thanks for joining me. We'll see you all next time. Have a good one.